Welcome back in our Selenium with Java tutorial series. Today we are going to see how we can execute JavaScripts inside your Java code. Okay, so now let's talk about a bit about JavaScript. What is JavaScript and what and all different actions we can perform by using JavaScript. So I can say almost all the browser operations so far we have seen, like identifying an element, clicking on a button, or fetching some value from the application element, or even entering some value into the text box or something. And also there are some more features as well which we can perform by using JavaScript. So let me just give you an introduction of the JavaScript. So one interesting fact is that you can even execute the JavaScript by using your browser. So browser acts as an IDE or an editor to run your JavaScript code. So any of the browser application, you can just open that URL and then right click on this, click on inspect. You will see something called as console. So this becomes your editor to run your JavaScript. For an instance, let's say that I want to do document. So document means you can see it highlights the entire DOM actually. Now when you click on dot, it gives you a lot of different methods, like you can get the location, you can get the URL. You can see it's giving you the URL. So let's say that document dot ready state, just to understand if your page is completed or not, or page is completely loaded or not. You can see it gives page is complete. Now even I can show you a couple of things where you can use the document dot. You can even find certain elements, like let me show you that. So what you can do, you can see when I'm putting get element, you can see there are a lot of different what do you call, your methods are available. Like you can identify an element by its ID, by class name, by name. So let's say that by name, and then here I'll give a name of one element. And if I enter, you can see it's highlight, it should highlight. Yeah, you can see it's highlighting your home button actually. So you can see input button, and you can see some of the attributes of that as well. So like what are the properties and everything, you can even see on live. Okay, you need not even call any of the methods. The same thing you can even go with document get element by ID. Let's say that username, you can see it is even giving you the syntax as username. And if I go here, username, and you can see it highlights your username field. Even you can enter some value. For an instance, I can say value equal to, and in double quote, let's say that I will give this one. You can see it enters the value. Even it fetches the value as well. For an instance, let's say that if I call just the value, it gives whatever you entered. It's nice, right? So it, like let's say that if you have any Xpath or CSS selector that you want to run it on the live, you can use the selected Saha plugin, which we have seen many times. Or you can come back as a quick option, you can come back here and you can identify the elements. But yes, you have to write all these lines of code, document dot get element by ID. But yeah, the concept of showing this particular feature is that you can have JavaScript to perform any of the actions that you can do by using Selenium methods. So the same thing, so why not we can use this kind of feature inside our Selenium with Java. Now the question comes, why do you need this one? So the reason is that there are certain situations where the Selenium methods might not work. Like let's say that you say driver dot find element by ID something dot send keys something. Now what it does, so it converts your driver dot find element and your send keys method into the JavaScript in the backend, and it performs that what do you call operation into your browser, because at the end your browser understands only JavaScript. So while converting or there are certain situations where your the Selenium methods might not work when you perform certain operation. At that instance you can use the JavaScript. So Selenium has to have some option, right? You can execute that. So Selenium gives you one method or one class, that is JavaScript executor. By the help of JavaScript executor you can execute any of the script whatever we have seen. Even you can scroll into an element, you can even highlight a specific text box or an element by using JavaScript. So all these actions we will see by using Selenium with Java. Okay, so let me go back to the editor, and here what I will do, I'll create one new package, and let's say that I will say JSEXEC. Okay, and under this I will create a new Java class. Let's say that JavaScript execute test. Okay, some name I'm giving, where I will be giving showing all the features of JavaScript. We will run it in Selenium. Fine. Okay, so for this, first thing first, so first let me copy paste anything from my previous one. Now, as I told, JavaScript executor is one class that is provided by Selenium Java package, and equal to, I will say, driver. This one I will be casting to JavaScript executor. As simple as that. Okay. Now, as I am done with this one, the next thing is that I can use JS as my driver object, like as we were using driver dot. I can do js dot execute script. Inside this, I can execute or run any of my JavaScript. One simple thing, let's see that. So I will say return, and I will say document dot, I will say ready state. Okay, so here, and this one will return me something, right? This will return me a string. So how do I print it? I can put it into a system dot out dot println, so that I can see the output. Okay, and here let me wait for some time. Let me run. Okay, let's see what is the problem here. So, okay, this is Chrome, right? This is the copy paste issue. So let me run it, and you can see the Chrome browser is launched, and everything else is done. You can see this is not Selenium methods we are using, right? Pure JavaScript we are running inside a JS or JavaScript executor object. Because my page is loaded, it's showing complete. Okay, the same thing, there are a lot of different things we can do by using this document object, and you can see document dot URL. Okay, and let's run it. Let's see some other options. So if you don't know what are the methods available with the documents, you can just go back to this. You can get the URL, you can get the entire body, you can get so many other options. Like you can see all these options, as in when you need all these things you can get it. Okay, fine. And even you can get the title of this page as well. So let me just go with this. Oops. So here, document dot title. Now see here, I'm doing a return, but when I'm executed here, I was not giving the return statement here, because it is returning to this console only. But here I want to return to this system dot out dot println. So whenever any JavaScript that returns something, you have to type the return. And is another thing, it's a string actually. Like if you give, let's say that I'm giving a wrong one here, it won't give you any error, but it won't execute that as well. So any methods that you are using, or any statement with respect to the JavaScript you are using, make sure that you have the correct spelling entered there. Okay, so now let's execute this one. So it will first see that whether the document is loaded or not, get the URL, get the title, and here you can see, okay, everything else is printed here, so you can get all these details. Now this is all about your document related, right? Now let's see some options based on your, what do you call, the element identification, because Selenium not only gives you the information about the browser, but it gives you an option to identify the elements also, right? So as we have seen there, let me execute something here. So js.execute script, and inside this I will be writing something like, I will say that document, always use the document as your parent object, and then I will say get element, and I always tend to copy paste from here. Let's see this one, right? So document, and here let's execute this one. Okay, and then I will say dot value. Now dot value means this will return me something, right? Now this one I can copy paste into something, or even I can execute this one inside my, what do you call, system.out.println. I want to print something. Okay, so here what you can do, so I will do like this, because it is get elements by name, right? So I want to get the index 0, and after this I need to give a semicolon. So that completes the entire JavaScript. You can see home is printed, which is the value get fetched from this particular home button. Okay, now let's try to enter some value into this. Like this is let me delete this one and right click inspect, and here you can see there is a id called username, right? So what I can do, I can copy paste after this thing, and here let's execute this one. Now here get elements not required by of I capital D, and it should be username. Okay, now let's say that I want to enter some value. So what I'm going to do, because it is single value, single element, get element by id returns me one value only, so one element. So I can say value equal to, I will put here qavbox. Okay, and then here what I will do, put a semicolon, and then here let's do this one, because these are all like part of your JavaScript. I mean, this is a string, right? So you have to give the escape sequence, or else what this will do, this execute script will consider this as a string, and this is one variable, and this entire thing is another string. So you need to complete whatever you are giving inside execute script should be in string format only. Let's now execute this one. And here you can see qavbox is entered, and then it came out of the browser. Okay, so I can even do an hybrid approach. For an instance, let's say that web element, and I will say element equal to, and let me just import this one. Okay, and here what I will do, I will execute this entire one, but up to here only, just to identify this element. Okay, and here let me complete this string, return document get element by id, and there has to be one, and here this is entire string, and like this, and this returns me an object, right? I want to convert it into a web element, no problem, web element, and then you convert this entire thing into a web element. Okay, fine. Now what I can do, I can use this el dot send keys normal. Okay, and here I can say qavbox. Let's do this. Yeah, you can see it got printed. For an instance, this normally we use where to identify, Selenium is not able to identify that, so just identify that and then use the regular Selenium methods only. So either you can use the JavaScript completely to find out that element and then enter some value, or else you can approach this hybrid approach as well. Okay, fine. Now there are some more options we can do. For an instance, you can even click it, so you can get this one. So because this is a text box, I have done the send case. Let's say it's a button, so you can identify that element and element dot click, you can do that. Okay, for an instance, let's say that home button, right? We can even do there as well. So what I will do here, until this one I will take it. Okay, Okay, now here what you can do, you can get this one and you can click as well. So home 0 dot click, you can click is a method, so you can even execute this one. So now what this will do, first it will enter the value as qavbox, then it will click on the home button. So let me run this one. Okay, as you can see, it happened everything quickly and it clicked on the home button. That's where we came into the main page of that. So I will show you one more approach here. If you see this one, okay, this is bit peculiar. So inspect, and you can see this full name, right? I won't be getting this one by using value, right? Selenium has a default method, that is get text. Okay, now but for this one, I can't get it as a get text. JavaScript don't have any get text. So what we can do, so this is id is label name, right? So what I can do, let me comment all these things. So I will say system.out.println this entire thing. First let me copy paste here, and then document dot get elements, this is by id is there, right? And what is the id? lbl name. So I'll copy here, because it is get element not elements, I can remove this index 0. Now if I say value, see there is no value with this one, no value attribute. I have to get the text, that is full name, right? So what I can do, there is one method that is called inner text, and T is capital. Now this will give me the display text, whatever it is displaying here, this one. Let me execute this one, and you can see it is giving the display text there. So any span element, div element, if you want to get the display text, you can use like this inner text. So we have learned how you can click it, how you can send some value like dot value equal to, you can see this is just to get the value whatever you have entered it. Now this is to get the value, sorry, this is to enter the value here, and this is to get the display text, like that you can do. So here I will say to fetch display text. Okay, and here this is the way to enter some value, to enter some value. And I will show you one more thing here. Let me just go here. So here actually we have identified this element and we clicked it, right? So this one we can do in another approach also, how we were doing this one. So what I will do here, let me copy paste this entire line, and here come back. So web element, and this is get elements by name, and here get elements by, and this is home button, and here I'll get the first index of that, right? And here this is element dot click, actually I can call like this. Even what I can do, this click operation I can have in JavaScript itself only. So there is one more shortcut is there. So JavaScript dot execute script, what you can do, you can use the arguments, okay, arguments of 0. Okay, so whatever you are coming dot click. Now which argument, now here you can just give this one which argument. So the argument is this element, you can send this element directly. So js execute, here you can say argument dot click which element, this element. Even though you can remove this index, let it come with the multiple here with this el dot click you can do. So why I did this one is this index, right? Because I want only single element, because it's a web element, right? So I'm getting the first index. I mean, so get element by name is not there, it is always get elements by name, because JavaScript expects more than one element might appear with the same name, because names can be repeated. So that's why it is elements. And to avoid getting or fetching multiple elements, I am taking the index 0, that is the first occurrence of the element, assigning to this one. Either I can do el dot click, or I can directly come back to here arguments dot click. The same thing I can do arguments dot value equal to something comma the element, if I want to send some value like here. This alternate to this I can write here as dot value equal to something. Okay, so let's execute this one and see whether it is clicking on this button or not. But before to that, let me comment this one, and let me give some weight so that you can see this button is clicking really. Okay, So right click, run. It's loaded. Wait for 2 seconds. Click on the home button. Okay. And then it will close it. So this particular 2 lines of code helped you to click on that home button so that it went to the home page. So that is how you can use it with the click, send keys, whatever you want. Now we have seen so far like ID and name, right? I've shown you even document has an option to get the elements by using the class name as well. You can see by tag name, by class name, everything. And you can see only id is get element only, everything else is elements, because they think that any other attributes you are using or any other locators you are using, there might be multiple instances. That's why they are giving you all these things. Okay, so you can use it simple. If you want to get into some input, you can use the tag name, you can use name. Just now we have seen you can even use the class name, right? So there are certain elements in this particular page, like you can see enter text, so you can use the document dot get elements by class name. So there are, these are the different available javascript locator strategies you can use it. Now there is something, how do we uh, execute the CSS selector? There is no out of box as document.css selector, right? Get element by CSS selector or something. But we have something called as query selector. You can see query selector or query selector all. Query selector all will give me multiple occurrences of the element. When I say query selector, it will find an element and it will return you single element only. So inside this I can write any of the what do you call CSS selector syntaxes. For an instance, let's say that input, and here I will say id equal to username, and give me a single quotes here, and then at the end I will say another one, and here, and this has to be escape sequence. Okay, now you can see it is giving me that element, it's highlighting here. Like this is the way also you can do. Let me copy paste this one and execute it here. So here let me remove everything, or like disable, come back here and execute this entire thing. But before to this is actually username, right? I want to enter something, so I will say return, or let's say js dot execute script, and inside this it has to be a string, right? I told to you guys. And here I will say, because this is a text box, I will say dot value equal to, I will say qavbox, and another one, and here you say like this. Fine. Okay, now inside this, because it is a string, I will be using the escape sequence. Okay, now let's see where is the problem. Let's see, so I will write here comment css selector to identify username field and enter value. Simple thing. Okay, so value. Now let's run this one. As you can see, QAB box entered, and you can just identify any other text boxes as well, not just limited to this full name. You can identify the email, telephone, or even you can check few of the check boxes as well. So let me show you by using the selectors hub actually. For an instance, let's say that I want to select this particular option, like the fourth radio button of this. So let me go back to here. Simple thing, let me first build in css selector pattern actually. So what I will do, input, for sure it will give me so many different options. I'll say id, what is the radio button, let me go back here, and what is the radio button is there, name experience. So I can go here, name equal to, I will say experience, and which will give me limited number, that is only 8 elements. But I want to click on the fourth one, right? So what I can do, what is the fourth one? You can see this is my fourth one, means I can have multiple css selector patterns. If you're not sure how to execute multiple syntaxes or patterns of your CSS selector, you can go back to our previous session of selector strategies, CSS selector, Xpath. You can see a lot more in detail. So value, and I will say 4. And you can see it's only identifying one element. No problem if you are looking for 3, let's say that. So it's going with the third radio button. Let's say that I'm going to execute the third radio button by using pure JavaScript only. So what I'm going to do here, the same thing. First, let me copy paste this one, and then keep this entire one again, copy paste document.query selector. Instead of that CSS selector, I will be using this one. Okay, and you can see the escape sequence came, and I don't want to enter some value. So what I want to do, I want to click it. Simple thing here. Okay, and click is a method. Okay, so now let's execute this one and see. So this does two things. One is it will enter some value to this username, and then it will check that third radio button. Let me go and run it. Entered some value, and you can see it checked the third radio button. Okay, like that you can do. You can even execute the CSS selector. There are actually even options you can do with the XPaths also, but I never felt that that is that friendly actually in this document dot evaluate actually. So you can see evaluate. So here you can see it is asking so many different options like expression, context node, resolver, and then type. These are all optionals, but yes, you can even execute the XPath as well. But yeah, I didn't prefer a lot actually, because we can perform by using ID, name, and even CSS selector. And I would prefer always to use the CSS selector over anything else. Okay, and let's say that I want to highlight this particular username field, as simple as that. So what I'm going to do, I'll copy paste till here. Okay, and here I'll just put a semicolon, and this is actually purely I'm getting that right. So what I will do, I'll do a return. Okay, and this return, where should I return actually? This one I will be returning to a web element, right? So I will say web element, and element equal to, we have seen this one already, and I will say web element. Okay, that's it. Now here what I can do, let me go back to the new field, and here I will execute this one, js.execute, and I will say here arguments, arguments of 0. Now whenever I'm saying arguments of 0 means I will have to give another parameter, that is element. Now another thing I will tell you, not always whenever you are doing this JavaScript argument stuff, not just you need to identify the element by using JavaScript, you can even execute as straight as possible. So you can even do like this: driver dot find element by dot id, and then you can say username. You can even do this one, no problem with that. You can just remove this one. Okay, now here, now here we need to write some logic so that it will give me one, what do you call, like your highlighting that particular element. I'll show you one interesting thing even we can do in the browser itself. For an instance, let me first highlight this one. So here it is highlighting, right? But when I'm going here, you can see the text box is not highlighting. I can even go to this style properties, add something. Okay, so I can go to this, and even I can highlight by using this username property also. Let me show you that. So I can do anything to this. You can see I'm highlighting by using, so these are pure CSS selector. So you have to understand the HTML, CSS selector, and couple of JavaScript features that will help you to easily handle the framework or automation. Now these are the two things, border and background, I will be utilizing in this particular JavaScript actually. So let me do one thing actually. So here I will say arguments of 0 dot set attribute, set attribute, and then I will say this is a method, right? Now here inside this I will be writing everything actually. So let's write like this. So first I will be going with the style, because this is the JavaScript way of writing the CSS selector. So you can directly get the CSS selector and put it inside this particular JavaScript. The only thing is that you need to say style, set attribute of style. This is my first parameter. Second parameter, completely you copy paste this entire thing. That's it. Okay, come back here and then copy paste it. Okay, there are a couple of things. Let me just make sure that it is properly. Okay, I'm just trying to figure it out if my everything is properly settled down or not. That is the bit tricky actually. You need to first see that okay, this is one double quote, right? So at the end there has to be another double quote. There has to be one semicolon as well. Now in the style one also you need to give another semicolon here. So those things you need to properly do it. I don't think so in this style I need this one. Yeah, let's see this one. Now let me run it. Okay, it seems like that particular syntax didn't work. That's why it is throwing me error. Like as I told, we need to make sure that all of these double quotes, single quotes should be in proper. So arguments of 0 dot set attribute. So you can see now this parenthesis, beginning parenthesis, this is my end parenthesis. Okay, this is my set attributes parenthesis. So here, so this is my end parenthesis and this is working fine, and you can see this is one and this is another one, right? Okay, you know what? You have to keep both of these things into one. So like this border, whatever it is coming, single quote, it's like this actually. So this is your first parameter. This entire thing is your second parameter. Now inside this you can write all this border, CSS selector, tomorrow, something else you can write it. Okay, so that's how you can do. You can see first parameter, second parameter in single quotes. Now this entire thing is one parameter. Attribute, this arguments is one parameter and the other parameter is here, like that. Set attribute, this is inner parameters, this is my outer parameter of this JavaScript execute script method. Okay, fine. And for sure actually whenever you're writing, if you just want to use it directly, you can copy paste this one and you are done with that. Let me run this. And you can see it highlighted, and you can give any color of your preference. You can give any colors, you can give any colors into this background, and this is mostly helpful. I will let you know, like let's say that you're logging in and you have given the correct username and password. When you clicked on the sign in button, it's not logging in actually. There is some error it is coming. For an instance, let's say that your username is expired, or it is asking you to reset your password or something. There are certain applications which give you like 3 months or something. After that you have to what you call reset your password. Okay, in that scenario, so you're expecting that it should log in, right? I mean, you will see some welcome screen or something, but it is throwing certain what you call some errors actually. So that error you can highlight here, okay, by using these things. After highlighting this, the next line of code, you can take a screenshot of that particular page. Now what might happen, that screenshot directly you can take it and give to your developer. You need not to download that or get that screenshot, put an arrow mark or highlight something and then give it to your developer. So by using just one line of code, it will do that for you. Okay, so that is how you can do that. There is even another one interesting feature of this JavaScript, that you can even scroll on a page. Let's say that you have a big page actually here. Okay, this entire page you want to scroll it. Now how do you do that? Selenium don't have inbuilt feature to do that. We have to use the JavaScript executor. So that feature we will see in our next topic, next session. So do subscribe and stay tuned to this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.